Here's why stupid people think they're smart. So this is known as the Dunning-Kruger effect. And it's probably one of the more damaging psychological biases that can happen. And everyone suffers from this. And the sad thing is, if you don't realize it and take the precautions needed, this can greatly hold you back from achieving anything in life. Whether that be getting better grades, better health, better relationships, or making money, anything to do with work. Anything to do with life, really. If you don't pay attention to the Dunning-Kruger effect, you're going to be held back greatly, and you're going to waste a lot of time, because this is exactly what happened to me. Now, I'm just going to use a small example to illustrate my point, so you can see what I did wrong and how you can avoid it in your own life. So I remember back in year 8, I gave my friend Jess a Rubik's Cube. So it was a bit bigger than this. It was a 4x4 Rubik's Cube. And I just brought it to school because I was trying to learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube. I was getting kind of good, and I was just going to bring it as like a show and tell thing. And so I just gave it to her to, play around with because she was quite interested. And I came back an hour later, and she was working on it. She didn't know how to do it. She was just fiddling around. And she asked me if I knew how to solve it. So I tried to solve it in front of her. And I solved all the layers except for the last one. When it got to the last layer, I realized that 2 of the pieces were out of place, and it was in a very unusual way. So if you solve Rubik's Cubes before, you'll probably have more context, but it's a weird pattern on a 4x4 where there's literally only 2 pieces, 2 cubes that are out of place, and that's it. Everything else looks solved. It's just 2 things out of place. And the thing is, that type of arrangement, if that happens in a 3x3, so on this cube, it's impossible. Basically, someone broke the cube, someone took the pieces out and rearranged it in a way that's impossible. So if that went over your head, don't worry. All I'm trying to say is, I thought she did something with the cube, so I couldn't solve it. So I thought there was no solution because she broke it or something. And I literally asked her, did you take any pieces out? She's like, no. And I was just very confused. But I still thought she broke it. And for this happened for 3 years. For the longest time, I just left that cube unsolved because I thought she broke it. There's no way I can solve a cube where only 2 of the pieces are wrong. And eventually, I remember one day I stumbled across a YouTube short where I saw the exact same pattern in that short as my cube. And when I clicked on the short, I was like, oh, did they break the cube as well? But then when I watched the video and then showed how they solved it, step by step, which is actually quite easy, my entire worldview just shattered. I was like, what? I just waited 3 years because I thought this thing was broken when I could have easily solved it any time during that. And so the takeaway from the story is that me at that time, I guess I was just so subconsciously arrogant that I knew I was right and she broke it. I was adamant that she was the one that broke it and therefore I couldn't solve it. When in reality, it wasn't because she broke it or anything. It was just because I didn't realize that this was just a normal pattern that can be solved. I was so confident in my ability of knowing that this is wrong, this is broken, that I didn't take I didn't question how do I solve this? And so that's why stupid people that don't have a lot of knowledge about something, think they're smart. They think they know much more than they do. And because of that, they can come to conclusions like I did that can potentially waste many years of their life. Now, obviously, I used the Rubik's Cube example. It's not as big in the grand scheme of things. But this exact type of thinking can be applied to anything in life. It could be applied to work, relationships, health. You could not do something in a relationship because you think it's right, but after 5 years you realize, oh wait, I was wrong. I was just missing this piece of information. So you can see that even though a Rubik's Cube is a small example, this can be applied to many greater things in life. And so you can see that I wasted many years not taking any action because I thought I was too smart and too arrogant, that I knew that this was broken. I just assumed that was the case. And when you fall victim for this phenomenon where stupid people think they're smart, or in other words, the Dunning-Kruger effect, that's when you end up with just potentially horrible consequences. And so I don't want that for you. And so what I've learned from this entire process is, if you want to overcome this bias, the Dunning-Kruger effect, you need to challenge everything. For example, if you're learning a new skill or something in class and you're getting better, you're getting the reps in, you're starting to understand the subject, let's say biology or whatever, and you're starting to gain some confidence, great. But at every stage, you need to challenge yourself and go, okay, so this is what I understand about this topic now, but how can I be wrong? How could I be missing something here? What are my blind spots? Because it's very hard if you don't like consciously remind yourself to look for these blind spots, because I mean, they're blind spots for a reason. And it's only when you consciously like take a break and think, okay, am I missing anything? And sometimes, you can grab someone to help you spot these blind spots, whether that be a teacher or a mentor for any skill or anything you're trying to learn. And this will just help you overcome this bias and allow you to see things from a more objective lens, and from a lens that's not clouded by your own like sense of arrogance. And trust me, everyone has a sense of arrogance. You may think that you don't, but when you approach any skill, as soon as you get slightly good at it, you're going to have a massive confidence boost. And this is where most people fall short. They fall short to the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is where dumb people think they're smart. So make sure that you don't fall for the same trap I did and not solve a Rubik's Cube for 3 years because you fell for the Dunning-Kruger effect, and instead challenge everything, whether that be challenging whether you can solve a Rubik's Cube, or challenging whether you understand a concept in school correctly, or whether you're learning a skill correctly, or if you're handling a relationship correctly. Anything. Challenge it as much as possible, and that way you can avoid the Dunning-Kruger effect. But yeah, thanks for watching, and with that being said, I'm going to solve this Rubik's Cube, and yeah, I'll end the video like this. I'm not a professional by any means, but I'll try and get it done in about like a few minutes. So let's start. If anyone has any good tips on how to solve a Rubik's Cube, let me know in the comments below. I used to be faster, but yeah. So that's the white cross done. Let's do the next 2 layers. So a bit of F2L. Okay. Okay. Okay, wait a second. There we go. That's one corner done. Cool. That's 2 corners done. Okay. That's 3 corners done. And then the final corner. There we go. So that's the bottom 2 edges done. No, bottom 2 edges. The bottom 2 like rows, I guess you call them. And time to solve the top layer now. Fun fact, I remember in primary school, I was just like a very shy, introverted kid, and I didn't have a lot of confidence, but solving the Rubik's Cube was the thing that allowed me to gain like a sense of confidence and bring this in for like show and tell. And that's what I did, because solving Rubik's Cube back then as like, a primary school kid was seen as this huge like, intellectual task. But yeah, so that's why I remember like obsessing over this in primary school, because it almost like, it just helped me like, not make friends, but okay, that's kind of sad. But it was a good experience in the sense that I got really good at something and I became proud of showing that skill to everyone at school. So yeah, learn the Rubik's Cube. But anyways, I'm solving the top yellow like face first before I get to the like corners. So looks like this, yellow, and now I'm just solving the top layer. All right, so in terms of solving this, let me take a look. Cool. So front, right. I'm gonna focus up real quick, just so I won't have this video going on for ages. Cool. And now I've got this variation where I just gotta swap the two edge pieces around. So cool. Wait. Wait. Okay, never mind. cut, cut, cut. Okay, one sec. Okay, so, all right, so now I just got to get the edges done. So, and that is solved. So with that being said, enjoy, and I hope that was a helpful video.